and your life.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited about today because we have a wonderful, amazing, incredibly wicked smart guest. And it's all around Pinterest today. In fact, how many of you think that Pinterest is only a place for women to share their latest recipe or DIY project? I mean, a lot of us use Pinterest in that context, right? I personally use Pinterest to search for content. But I want to nixay on that thought that it's only for the latest recipe or, to do DIY projects. Pinterest is a huge traffic resource for all of us, and yet so many of us aren't using it correctly. So, like I say, today's guest is going to share why Pinterest matters and how we can all take advantage of it to drive more traffic and ultimately create more sales for our business. Super excited to have you guys here. As you're coming in, give me a shout out. Where in the world are you? And what's the weather like where you are? I'm currently in Weston, Florida. I have a meeting today. So super excited to meet some new folks and create some new business. But I'm actually, it's such a great way to start the day around sharing knowledge and bringing great knowledge in so you guys can learn from today's guest. So I'm super excited about it. All right, like I say, as we're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you guys? Also, today, just like last week, you guys are, this is episode number 2 of the Marketing That Grows Your Business, and it is sponsored by promo.com. We are going to be doing some giveaways again this week. We're going to do them slightly differently than we did last week. This week, we're going to focus in on aha moments, meaning when you guys get an aha, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or oh my gosh, I can do that. Such a wicked smart idea. Then just type in hashtag aha and whatever it is your aha moment was or is. I apologize for my voice. I do have a cold and I've got a little bit of a raspy thing going on this morning. But if you type in aha, hashtag aha, we are going to be choosing winners for several things. We have, I'm about to give away our guest, but you guys know who our guest is anyway. We're going to give away one of our very new ring lights, which is got the Marketing That Grows Your Business logo on it. We just got them in the mail. Super excited. They're super cute. We're going to be giving away one of those. We're also going to be giving away 2 books that our special guest co-authored with Guy Kawasaki. Peg Fitzpatrick and Guy Kawasaki co-wrote the book, The Art of Social Media. Guys, this little book is chock full of amazing, amazing tips and resources for you. So we're going to be giving away 2 of those. So definitely participate and drop in those aha moments so that we can pick you. We want to. And we're also going to be giving away 3 one-month trials of promo.com, which is an amazing resource. You guys are going to love it. You'll have a month to try it out for free. So that is our kind of the gig on the gifts that we're going to be giving away, the prizes, if you will, that we're going to be giving away. All right. So morning, Cynthia. Good morning. So you're in Virginia. That's my home state. I was born and raised in Virginia, so it's very near and dear to my heart. A lot of my family is still in Virginia. Hey, Jenny, so good to see you. I just want to say I'm super appreciative of the time that you spend with me because you're on almost all of my live shows. So thank you for showing up and being here. And then we have Judy from Hot Springs, Arkansas, mild but gloomy. So far here in South Florida, it is pretty nice. I was out early this morning, and it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here. All right. So I want to let me clear my throat there for a second. I want to introduce to you my lovely special guest. I have known Peg Fitzpatrick for, oh goodness, years now. I definitely count her as one of my friends in the social space. I've emulated a lot of things that I learned from her in the early days. And I'm constantly learning more and more from her because she is on the cutting edge of all the latest and greatest stuff. She is an author. She's a social media strategist. She has her own very popular blog, pegfitzpatrick.com. But really, what I want you guys to know about her, outside of her wicked smart knowledge, is that she works with a lot of major brands. And the reason she works for a lot of major brands is because she's got it going on. She's been a brand ambassador for like Kimpton Hotels, TJ Maxx, Nestle, Adobe. Like I mentioned earlier, she is the co-author of the book, The Art of Social Media. I really am appreciative of all that she brings to the space. She is constantly innovating and staying on top of it. But another thing that I really want you to know about her is she has been handpicked by Pinterest to be a part of their expert program. So she is eminently qualified to talk to us about Pinterest today. So I really want to bring her in, and you guys give her a huge welcome. Welcome, Peg. Hey, Peg.
Hey. Oh my gosh. It's always like the most awkward thing to listen to someone talk about you. It's like,
I know. I totally understand that.
I
And,
appreciate all the
Peg
nice
and I,
things you said.
oh, thank you. I thank you for being here. It is always so awesome to have you here. All right. So I want to jump right in. One, I just want to acknowledge we did not plan to be twinsies this morning. But
No, but you know what? When you know what's going on, you know what's going on. I
exactly,
need cute
exactly.
glasses. I just have pink. Mine are
Well,
not as like bomb as Kim's, but this, tech glasses are important. Are yours for tech, Kim? Are yours like beta blockers or like the blue blockers, or are yours glasses?
no, mine are necessary to be able to see the written word. My arms just
I
aren't
hear
long
that.
enough anymore.
I hear that.
So yeah, that's kind of, yeah, honestly, and they've become a part of my brand because everybody just loved the red glasses, so
Yeah.
it's it's become
Yeah.
kind of become like that. All right, so thank you for being here, and I just
Thank
really
you.
want to jump in and guys, if as you're listening in, feel free to let us know your questions. I mean, I have a whole list of things, but I definitely want to hear from you guys too. As Peg starts to drop knowledge on us, if you have questions, please ask them. We definitely want to take the time to honor your questions. So, Peg, one of the first questions I have for you is, who are Pinterest users anyway? I think there's this like impression that they're all women and they're all DIY projects and stuff like that. So can you talk a little bit about who's on Pinterest, who's using Pinterest, and maybe even who the fastest growing demographic is?
That's a good question. Okay, so Pinterest users, I mean, it definitely started out as all women. They went to a conference, a really awesome conference, and hooked a whole bunch of early influencers up, which happens with a lot of social platforms, or should we say new tools, because they're really Pinterest. I know like it gets said a lot, but Pinterest is not social media. It's actually a discovery engine. So it's different. So, and that is actually one of the things I like about it, because you don't have to be social there. You can kind of do your own thing, and you don't have to worry about catching all the mentions and responding to people. It's not necessarily about that. It's really more about what you're doing there. And there's kind of two things going on. There's what users do, and then there's what the brands do and what Pinterest kind of wants you to do to get traffic. So the demographics are, there still are a lot of women, but there's a lot of men too. And all the big brands are there. All the big brands are there creating really great content. I see amazing things from, obviously Target stuff is great there. Home good, like all different kinds of home places. You'll get chaser ads from just about any site that you go on. If you go back to Pinterest later, you'll get a chaser ad for whatever you were just looking at. But it's never annoying there. I find that the ads on Pinterest are always well blended, and they're not like disruption, because that's one of the things that Pinterest wants to do, is inspire people. They don't want to stop what you're doing, but they try to mix something in that fits with what you like. And the more that you're on Pinterest, the more really good targeted information you get. And I love that about them because their AI is fantastic. Like for me, when it recommends things to me, I always like it. When it sends me email saying, you might like this for your XYZ board, it always is something that I like. So they've done a great job of really getting to know their Pinterest users, and they give you really great information when you have a Pinterest for Business account, so you can find out exactly what your users like, which is really important, I think, in 2020, Kim. And I'm sure you'll probably agree with me that you can't just blast stuff out without really paying attention to who your audience is, because people are over that. Like, it can't just be about what you want. It has to be what your audience needs and is looking for. And that's what Pinterest wants to see. So if you want to see what people that follow your Pinterest account right now, what they like, to give them more of that, then you can do that. And you can look right in your analytics and find out what people are coming to you for. You can also, of course, change your message a little bit. If people are coming to see you for something and you want to like change the message a little bit. I always love, I don't know if you watched Mad Men, but I was like obsessed with Mad Men. I love that show because it was all the old advertising guys. And let's face it, that's kind of where social media segued over to advertising. And one of the main characters that if you don't like the message, change it. And that's kind of how it is with your social platforms. So you kind of have to look at what people are coming to you for now, and then share things in the same realm, but move your message over with keywords and hashtags. So you kind of find out who your audience is. Demographics are important for different sites. I mean, obviously, you need to be relevant where you're sharing, but it's possible to create content to reach the right people. And one example that I absolutely loved for the Super Bowl was on TikTok, which is definitely the youngest demographic of any platforms. I think right now that's like the teens. And TurboTax did this amazing commercial, but they tied it into TikTok and they connected with some influencers and they made really great content. And it was for TurboTax. I mean, in a million years, if you had said, could you create some relevant, cool content for TurboTax, people would be like, nope, that is not even interesting. But they got a hip hop artist, a really catchy song that was like, all people are tax people. And it was so awesome. So it's kind of, we're at that stage where you need to, did you see that one, Kim? Did you see that?
I did actually. And I hear you.
Yeah.
You're talking, obviously brands are using it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us, when we're, just solopreneurs or small business owners,
Right.
how's that relevant to us? And
right. So it's kind of figuring out what is the thing that's important to you. Like Kim, if it's you and you made a new class for how to do live video, because I know you make like really amazing classes. So you need to think, okay, I made this great class. How am I going to share on Pinterest that's going to make it relevant for people on Pinterest? So you know that the people that are going to that you're going to want to reach are like, maybe you have demographics from your blog. That's what I use a lot of times for myself. I look at my Google Analytics for who comes to my website, because I know that those people are definitely who is interested in my content. And surprisingly, a lot of times it's younger people. I even have people like 13 to 17 reading my blog, and I'm like, okay, hey, young people, thanks for reading my blog. But like in my mind, I think it's a different demographic. But the reality is, check Google Analytics and see who it is that is, who's looking at your website for certain things. And then also you would know from past courses that you've sold and maybe who your Facebook audience is. So take all those pieces and create your demographics and then reach them on Pinterest using content that you think is going to be helpful. So if I was making a class, I have a Pinterest class, so I've done the same thing actually. Like you're going to make content to reach those people and in a bunch of different ways. And one way that you could do it that's new and fresh is that you can make video pins. Did you know you could do video pins, Kim?
yes, and actually that's one of my questions, but I was trying to kind of think this through from the process of how somebody who might not necessarily be using Pinterest right now to drive traffic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
more specifically, they might need to clean up where their Pinterest to start to take advantage of Pinterest traffic.
Right.
So if you are that person, what's
Yeah.
one of the very first things that you should start doing to start positioning yourself for traffic?
Well, I think one of the things is I don't really worry too much. I gotta keep moving. I am like, Jeff's probably freaking out because I'm like way off center. Okay, there, I'll sit still now. Um, so, so you need to figure out like who you're going to reach, right? So think if you have things on your Pinterest boards that really are not relevant, maybe you had a personal Pinterest board that wasn't really in line with anything business wise. Maybe you want to make a business account. I never used to recommend this in the past, but make a business account that's all brand new and fresh and start with
Yes.
that and keep it all relative to what you want to do. So that is something in 2020, a new Pinterest recommendation that I've never made before. But I think that moving, and I actually got some great advice from Pinterest themselves for that, because you have to really look at what's going on differently now. And I think there's so much content everywhere. There's millions and there's probably definitely billions of pins. So you want to make sure you're going to reach people. So if you have a personal account and maybe you pinned a whole bunch of things that don't have anything at all to do with your business, maybe make a business account, make it Kim Garth's amazing video courses, and go from there and really do some keyword research and think about what hashtags you're going to use. Don't go too big, really get targeted. It takes a little bit of time now, I feel, to like really nail down like your demographics, your keywords, research, and all those kind of things before you're going to create your really great content. So just take a little bit of time. If you're making a course on how to do live video, then definitely, look and see what's out there. Do some searches on Pinterest, do some searches on Google to see what people are looking for, and then answer those questions. Answer the questions that people want to know about live video. Say you do a search and they're like, is live video expensive? Like, do I need fancy cameras? Do I need all this stuff? You could make some pins that show like, I can go live with just my smartphone and a little clip-on light. And as long as I have it in the right position and I look good and everything's good, like you're good to go. Because one of the trends now is to make things not as polished and pretty. It's all about more keeping things live and fresh. And so, where maybe you were going to start before and you needed a whole bunch of equipment and you wanted to make sure you had everything great. So think about like what questions you can answer. How can you help people? And then get them to click through to learn. Like if they're looking how to learn something on Pinterest, they really want to you want to give them some steps. So you could create a series of pins. Say you have one course and you create a series of pins in different ways. One could be multiple images. Like these are the 3 things that I use to start my videos, like your phone, a good, say a good mic, maybe if you're going to be like an on the go girl, that's going to be like around town, and the video, just a clip on light that's so be like, or you could give like 3 levels of how to get started on video, like high, low, and medium. Because I think sometimes, we're all starting at different places and people get stopped in all different places, so answer the questions. That's what people they're looking for, answers and inspiration on Pinterest.
Yes.
So if you can give them
Absolutely.
answers
Absolutely.
and inspiration, they're going to click through and they're going to buy your class. And then think
So I
of
have
different ways
another
you can say
question.
the same thing. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to ask because you mentioned it, and that was one of the aha moments was, start a new Pinterest account. But my question is, do you start a new business account, and let's just, the question is, do you need a business account, or can you convert a personal to a business, or do you need 2 separate ones?
You
Just
can
to
do
keep it, because I
either.
think a lot of
So
people are mixed. They get mixed
yeah,
messages on that.
yeah. It depends on how you want to do it. I mean, it's personal preference. I have a business. I converted my personal to a business account, but my account now, I don't think is how I would set it up in 2020. So if I was starting today, like today, I'm going to be like, okay, that's it. Kim and Peggy have inspired me. I'm going to be like amazing on Pinterest. I think I would start a business account and put the things I wanted on there. Maybe I would share a couple of boards with myself, like maybe my relative blog boards and maybe like a live video board, like things that are going to fit with your business brand. And I think I would stay more focused on the business brand for just the keywords and questions that you want to answer on your business account. So you don't have to start a new one if you don't want. It's possible. If you like your Pinterest account a lot, and it's your personal one, I mean, if you want to do it for business, you do need a business account. That's one thing. Like they do want you to have a business account like Facebook does. They don't do anything if you don't, but you do get analytics
What
with a business account. So it does make a
Yeah,
difference.
that was my question. What are the benefits of having a business account over a personal profile? Because I think that's important.
Definitely all the analytics because you need to know
Yeah.
who's clicking, what they like, all those things. They have really good analytics. And then you get analytics on every pin. So you get a lot more information with a business account. Plus, I feel like if any platform is telling you if you're doing business, we want you to have a business account, I think you should do it just because you want to be on the right side of the terms of service. So if you
Yes.
have right now a personal account and you're like, okay, I want to be like great, I want my business to do well with Pinterest. What you could do is keep your existing account and just make a bunch of your boards secret that don't have anything to do with your business. So you could go through, make things secret, keep your recipe boards, keep your vacation boards, like keep all the things you want and make them secret boards so nobody can see them anymore. And then just maybe segue your account over to doing more just focused on your business. I'm not 100% convinced that having really good other boards that are closely related or just things that you like, that's not 100% relevant to making your Pinterest account do well. In the past, I know that some of my other boards have helped my Pinterest presence get more views and impressions. So in some ways, I'm still a little bit tied to that. So I'm still testing my new 2020 theories, but if you're starting from scratch, I think a business account, and keep your personal separate would be the way to go. But if you have a really great Pinterest account, like I have like 40,000 followers on Pinterest, so I want to keep all those people. So
Yeah.
that's what I would suggest. So there's
Okay.
different ways. There's always more than one ways to look at things, right? So,
Absolutely. Well,
and there's
one of
not
the
a wrong
questions
way
we
to
got,
do it either. There's no wrong way
yeah,
either, right? I mean, there's just advice that you can always tweaking for yourself is good.
absolutely. And one of the questions that we got, Steve asked, what does the business account cost? It doesn't cost anything. So, very similar to what Peg just said, I did the same thing. I converted a personal profile over to a business account. And
Mm-hmm.
then, uh, just from the standpoint of what Peg just said, there's no magic formula for any of this. Sometimes I keep some of my personal stuff open and viewable because it ties into my brand in some way. Like, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I say on all my bios is I love God, hockey, shoes. And, so like my shoe board is open on my Pinterest account, kind of
Right.
thing. So, cause it ties in. Um,
Right.
there's no wrong answer necessarily, but one of the things I'd
Mm-hmm.
like to key in on is something you talked about as when it comes to if you do that transfer from your personal to your private and you start cleaning things up. Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about because I did that recently.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff C started working with the team and started really helping me clean up my Pinterest account, and one of the things that I really wanted to ask about, because I'm curious about this, and I'm sure everybody else would be curious too. If you're in cleanup mode, or if you're just
Mm-hmm.
starting, board names. Do
Mm.
you get fancy with those, or do those have SEO value? And should you be focusing in on how people would be searching for things versus, being cutesy?
Right. No, no cutesy. I
Okay.
used to do that though. See, that's the thing that we used to do is have like clever board names, but the reality is that is a searchable thing. So you want to make sure that you have your keywords in your board titles and in your board descriptions. A lot of people miss the description of the board. So when you're thinking about Kim's amazing video class that everybody's going to want, you want to have boards that have, how to be amazing on live video. You want to think live video. You want to think how do I do, like, you want to think of your three big search terms and then really hammer down in your board titles, your descriptions, and then obviously in your pins and your pin descriptions. And now they're pulling the metadata over from your blog. So it's really important just to be focused on how you want people to find you versus something clever, because people will never find it. One of my boards used to be like Blogtastic, which I thought was like this super cute, like 2011 cute, you know, like I thought it was cute. And then like tons of people use that for their blog name, their board names. And then it kind of it wasn't good for search anyway, because no one's going to search for Blogtastic,
Mhm.
you know,
And
live and
if
learn.
you're I love that you said that and gave a very specific example. One thing that if you are not sure what to name your boards, go up to the search bar in Pinterest and actually start typing in what you think you want to use. And Pinterest,
Mhm.
very, very similar to Google, it's a search engine essentially. You know,
Right,
it's got some
right.
search functionality. So it'll show you things that people are searching for. So
Mhm.
leverage that to name your boards appropriately so people can find your content. So we
Mhm.
have something from Chuck. He said, I'm inspired to create a Pinterest account for a new business that has no Google Analytics. What's the
Mhm.
best way to find keywords for that? Great
That's a good
question.
question. I love to use Answer the Public. It is one of my very favorite sites. And I use it for the company that I work for that has very hard keywords that I need to find. And you can just type something in there and it shows you all the questions that people are asking surrounded the keyword. So it always gives me like really great advice on what to do. Some people say to use Google to like look in their keyword tool. I have to honestly say I've never gotten that thing to work for me. I don't know if you have, Kim, but like I try to use it, doesn't work. So that's one that I use a lot. And I do like to do what you do is type things in to Pinterest and Google and see what's recommended around your search term. I do have BuzzSumo is another tool that I use to look for related content. But Answer the Public is the one that I go to, and it's free. That one gives me
Mhm.
really great ideas. What do you use, Kim, when you're looking for keyword research?
I'm usually more of a holistic approach to my research because I'm
Uh-huh.
not always looking for just keywords. I'm looking for what resonates. So I
Hmm.
love the tools that you mentioned, but I'm really partial, I would guess you would say, to BuzzSumo. I use BuzzSumo
Hmm.
a ton because it's kind of
Yeah.
got a proof factor with it, you know, because you can see how people are engaging with certain types of content, headlines,
Right.
holistic key. I call them strings more so
Mhm.
than just a keyword or it's more of a phrase that I'm kind of looking for because think about how we look for content. We search for content. It's usually not one word. It's usually,
Mhm.
you know, how do I do this or how do I do that or does this work or, you know, so it's more like that. So that's normally the way I
I'm so bad at
do
camera.
my research. So, but it's important to do the research. And I really
Right.
encourage you to like use the tools that are out there. BuzzSumo is not free. It does have,
No.
it has a free to paid model. So you can
Hmm.
use it at least on a surface level for free. But
Hmm.
like, you know, the other resources that Peg mentioned, absolutely leverage those. They are free. And answering people's questions and giving context to those questions, oh my gosh, you can never go wrong with that, in my
Right.
opinion. So,
Right.
Peg, so since we talked, I actually, something you said, there's two, I got two questions wrapped in one and they're totally separate. So maybe we'll do one question and then I'll go to question number two because I don't want to get everybody confused. So one of the things that you mentioned was the fact that now Pinterest is pulling in the metadata, and that's just a fancy term. So I want to nug that down so that people can understand one how to put that together so it works
Right.
when people are sharing their content from their blog, because we're primarily wanting you guys to understand how your blog content can matter on Pinterest and drive a lot of traffic to you guys. So
Mhm.
maybe talking a little bit about a social sharing tool that would allow
Mhm.
them to put all that descriptive keyword phrases in there that makes it
Right.
easy for them. Can you
So
elaborate
I
on that a
use
little?
Yoast. I don't know if about you and your blog, but I use Yoast, which is an SEO plugin that I've used since the beginning. I'm not an SEO expert, but Yoast helps my blog like hit all the marks as far as like keywords, how many you have in each article. And then there's a section where you have like it's just the metadata is just like the little description that you write that shows up like under on Twitter, on your Twitter card or on Facebook, like it'll have the title and then a little bit of extra text. And that's another place where you can let people know, what your content is about. And Pinterest looks at that, Google looks at that. That's another place where your keywords and your hashtags and all of your strategy is going to fit in. A tool that I absolutely love for Pinterest is Tasty Pins. It's a plugin that you can use, and it lets you put as many images as you want for each blog post. And when somebody on an article, you don't want to put big, slow it down. Tasty Pins actually end, and it lets you write a separate Pinterest description, which you can put hashtags in and a little, and then when people click on your website on the little Pinterest Chrome button, they will pin your pin, and it gives them options for images. So you could have like 3 or 4 different images for your pin, and it doesn't slow your website down. So that's a tool that I absolutely love.
I have heard great things about Tasty Pins. I'm currently using Social Warfare, and it allows that same, pullover of data. But on that same line, I know Pinterest is shifting how they want us to share fresher content, right? That's what they're calling it. Jeff came up with this concept of the fresh pin strategy, which we're using internally here. But basically, I'll just tell you what it is, and then I'd love your opinion on this whole fresh pin thing. And more importantly, do you pin your own stuff or do you pin other people's stuff, and what that combination looks like? So let me share real quick what we're doing, which is we're creating 5 images for every blog post now. And, we're not trying to make that hard because people are like, oh my gosh, I can barely get 1 done. How are you doing 5? So basically we're just changing out the image a little bit, moving the text around. We're trying not to make it uber difficult because we want everybody to be able to do what we're doing, right? So if we're making it complex and saying, oh, well, you're creating 5 different images and they're totally different. No, we're basically templatizing it and then shifting a few dynamics in the image. And then we're sharing those 5 images so that it appears to be fresh content each and every time. And what one person is attracted to and will repin is different than what someone else would repin, right? So what is your take on this whole fresh pin concept first? And then we'll talk about maybe how much content you should share, your own content versus other people's content.
Right. So fresh content for sure. I'm doing the same thing, just sharing. Sometimes I'll just go and create. I have not had time to write as much on my blog in the past year because of work, just my blog it's always like a passion project on the side. It does bring you some business, like maybe speaking engagements or things, and I'd like to keep it more active, but I don't have time. So maybe that's you too. And in that case, I create my fresh content by making new pins for old content. So whether you're creating new content and creating multiple pins so you can share different versions, or if you're just going to go back to like your top 10 blog articles and create new pins, that's also fresh content. So they're looking at fresh content is not necessarily something that you wrote this week or today or whenever. They're looking at fresh pins as a brand new pin to Pinterest that you haven't pinned before. So it's a new image, and then it can be the same title and description. You don't have to change those. But I think probably mixing up your description text is probably smart a little bit to ask different questions or phrase things a little bit differently. But a fresh pin is a new image. So one thing that I like to do, Kim, with your idea of the fresh pin strategy, you can use Canva templates or create your own, like an easel, which is another tool that I like, and just reuse them and remix them. So, and if you're not great with creating your own new design content, if that's really hard for you, you can have a designer create some Canva templates that are unique to your brand, and then just have them make 5 to 10 and just reuse those over and over again and remix your own things. Find what pins were really popular that you created yourself and redo those for your new blog posts with different graphics. It doesn't have to be that hard to make your own fresh content. It seems kind of like overwhelming, but it's easier to create 5 new pins than it is to write a whole new blog article. So if you don't have time to start, create a lot of content, sometimes just creating some new fresh pins will revive everything for you. So it's totally worth the time. And that
I
is,
love that. And
even for
I
2020,
think that's
that is like,
yeah,
yep.
such a smart strategy. Instead of worrying about coming up with, um, you know, in other words, this is a repurposing strategy, guys.
Mhm.
I just want to just make sure you got this, because this is absolutely a repurposing strategy where you go back to
Mhm.
existing blog content that you already have and create some fresh pins for it, fresh images, in other words, and then share it
Mhm.
on Pinterest. So, I
Right.
mean, how many, I would speculate that some of you might have, 25, 50, 100, maybe hundreds of blog pieces out there, blog posts where you could go back and create fresh content. So, Rhonda,
Mhm.
write that little tip down. We're going to do that too, because we've been going forward with this strategy. But Peg just gave us one, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we could circle back to all of our old content and do
Right.
exactly the same thing. So, wicked smart. I told you she was wicked smart, guys. Um,
But, you think about it, Kim, I bet you have some articles on your website that you wrote a long time ago that you haven't thought about in a
yes.
long time. Sometimes you go back and you're like, "That was a really good article," and maybe it just wasn't long enough because we used to write shorter things. So maybe you can just even refresh the article a little bit and update it for 2020 and add some new tips, put new graphics, because sometimes, I mean, some of my old graphics are really bad. I thought they were
Okay.
great at the time, but now I look
I
at them,
know,
I'm
right?
like, not so good. Right. So you can just refresh everything. Just give just give one a little bit of CPR, and like fix a few things, take out Google Plus mentions because that's not around anymore. Change the size for what, like there's a few
Yeah.
tweaks every year for different strategies, but you could create really great fresh Pinterest content from your good
Yes.
old blog posts. And that is smart.
In fact,
And you don't want
it's
to
funny
get
that
rid of
you
all
say
your
that.
pins. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, it's funny you say that, because in the first months of this year, our entire strategy is not new content. It's brushing
Mhm.
off the old. So taking a look
Right.
at some of our top performing content and updating it, because,
Mhm.
sometimes it's embarrassing to look back at old content. I mean, let's just be real. It's like, oh my gosh, how far have we come? But it doesn't mean that the content just totally stunk. It's just that it needs freshened up. It needs to be brought, needs to be relevant to today versus, where it was when you first wrote it 3 years ago. Instead of
Mhm.
starting fresh all the time, repurpose this stuff, guys. Get all the juice that you can out of it, because
Yeah.
it's hard today. Content is a bear, and yet it is what
Mhm.
drives everything. We have to
It
show
is.
up with great content. So instead of recreating the wheel all the time, just circle back to some of your older things, freshen it up, and from when it comes to Pinterest, create a variety of different images so that you can pin it on Pinterest. So that's
Mhm.
a huge strategy in and of itself right there.
Yeah. And
So
it's not as hard, it's not creating 100% new content. It's just reviving your own great stuff that people already like. So it
yes,
is smart.
agreed.
And
Yes.
And your business can do like Pinterest. We haven't really talked about how Pinterest pins last, but if you're not really used to how Pinterest works, your things that are popular can be popular every year at certain times, or just stay popular and people keep pinning them. I have articles that are from like 2011, 2012 that still bring lots of traffic to my website from pins. And that is not going to happen from Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts or Twitter posts. Twitter, you have to spend so much time now and create so many repeated tweets. Um, and you're just not going to get as much traffic from it. So spending a
But
little bit of time on Pinterest, getting your strategy set and just being consistent with it will really help you out long term, not just this week or next week, but in 6 months. I bet this 6 month strategy is going to pay off for a couple years, Kim. That will be my guess.
I think so
Or
too.
yours.
So
Yeah.
let's dig into that that thing that you mentioned, because I really feel like this is a moment, this is an aha moment as well, guys.
Mhm.
Um, when you post something on Facebook, it has a lifespan, a very short window.
Mhm.
The lifespan of a tweet is less than 30 seconds. The lifespan of content on Pinterest is at least a week, potentially years. I mean, it is a gift that keeps on giving, versus
Yeah.
content that we are tweeting, or content that we're putting on Facebook or putting on Instagram, for example. The longevity of Pinterest is stunning. And you really need to understand that traffic is content is a gift that keeps on giving, especially if it's something that is attracted, that solves a problem for your ideal client or customer, right? So Peg was just
Mhm.
talking about that, where she says, she's got blog content she wrote in 2011 that because she's pinned it. She pinned it. I want to restate that. She pinned it on Pinterest. She didn't tweet it in 2011. Well, she probably
I did
did,
tweet it, but
but
it's
who's going
gone.
to find it? Right. It's so gone. It's in the Library of Congress, but who else is going to find it, right?
Right.
And then there's Facebook, where nobody's going back to 2011, but the way Pinterest works is the algorithm is constantly surfacing pins that people are engaging with, and that means that your pins have much longer lifespan than other social platforms. So I really wanted to key in on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
it's if you could do one thing for your blog, Pinterest is the thing that will last. Instagram, which we hadn't even, I mean, they're apples and oranges. Instagram is like just brand awareness. Nobody clicks through from posts, no matter how much hustle you do. And even Instagram stories with the swipe up feature, people are entertained, but the click through rate is so low for everybody. So it's a lot of hustle on Instagram, and it just doesn't pay off for blog traffic. It's a very like single digits versus, can be number one traffic driver. Pinterest can bring, it's like number two after organic search for many, many people. If you invest the time in Pinterest, it will pay off, which is important for businesses. You want to create, if you
yes.
just going back to our class example, you want to create a class, and you don't want to have to be constantly, sending people there, but you create it, you spend all the time to do it. It's great if you have Pinterest pins that are just recirculating for you, or you could create new ones every once in a while, and there you go.
Absolutely. So when it comes to, and because I think a lot of people are curious about this, when it comes to sharing content, because
Mhm.
content, like I said, is the engine that drives it all, right? We have to share great
Yeah.
content. Do you have a formula for what you would recommend as it relates to um, our own content? And then how much do we repin?
Right. So this is like moving forward. I think my strategy is going to change more, but I always feel like you have to share other people's content. Like it's just ingrained into me not to just do my own content, because I feel like if somebody comes to my profile and it's all my own pins, like I kind of look at that like, well, they're never going to repin or share my things, so it's kind of odd, like an odd social situation ish. So I think I'm going to do more of my own content, but I think I still will be repinning other people's content, because I feel like it makes my boards stronger. So you wouldn't want to necessarily, in the instance of, you're doing a course on a specific topic, I wouldn't pin exactly other people's courses on how to do live video, because that's too much direct competition. But maybe you could have another board that's like how to be great on camera, which is related but not exactly the same, and you could pin those things. I feel like that's not going to like crush your own business model, but I feel like more good content helps. And I think creating the new fresh content is going to help your Pinterest presence a lot. But personally, I still feel like pinning some of other people's content is helpful for my boards. And when I'm doing my own research, I have some research boards which are just private. Then those things are just things that I'm looking at. But then if important boards, like Jeff and I have an Instagram board that's very popular, and it surfaces really high in Google search. And I haven't written any new Instagram content in a long time, but I do like to find Instagram content. So I kind of like that. I feel like still helps my Pinterest presence. You know what I mean? Like if you could just be really smart moving forward on what you're pinning of other people's stuff. Maybe like have your private boards there, things that you love, like shoes and, recipes. Those are your personal private things. But ones that are related to your business, like just be like super strategic about it. So they're close, but not direct competition as far as the business click through to buy your thing. Like I feel like, Kim and I probably, our topics on our blog are probably similar, and I would pin all of that content. But maybe if you and I both had the same exact class, I'm not going to pin both of those on my class board. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. It does make
Is
total
that how you would
sense.
do it? Yeah, that's how you would do it too, right? Or
Absolutely,
no?
absolutely. I'm hearing a lot, keeping your ear to the ground. I'm not a Pinterest expert by any means, but I
Mhm,
have heard a couple of things around what you just shared, where there is more emphasis now being placed on your own content versus other
mhm,
people's content. I'm with you. I think Pinterest there's just so much great content there. But I feel like there's a marriage here that can be made. Like we
mhm,
were talking about the fresh pin concept earlier, and having multiple images, for example. And maybe you don't want to pin multiple images on the same day to the same piece of content. Maybe you
right,
spread that out over the course of a week. And again, those they may be on the same board, or they could be on separate boards.
mhm,
But the chances of that content being side by side and people saying, "Oh my gosh, she's just all she's doing," or he is sharing
mhm,
their own content or pinning their own content. Nobody's probably
right,
going to notice that. So I
right,
think there's a marriage. You just have to be smart with how you share your own content, and where,
mhm,
like you can absolutely share the same pin to multiple boards, but maybe you don't do it in the same moment. You might
right.
wait, an hour in between, or a day or 2 days in between. But that
But
leads me to
that's
another.
But that's kind of just
I'm sorry.
before we go to your other thing, but that's kind of how other people's content helps with your strategy. Like you don't have time to just create all your own pins unless you have a designated person on your company that can just create new pins for you all the time. I feel like I can't create that much fresh new content of only my own to pin because I would have days where I wasn't pinning even if I scheduled stuff out. So I feel like other people's content kind of helps fill out my strategy, just like on Twitter and
Yeah.
other places. But I feel like moving forward, I'm going to try to create more of my own fresh content to add in, but I'm not at the point where it's going to be only my own content because I just don't feel like I can do that. Like as a social media
I totally
professional.
agree. But and I totally agree. I feel like, but I will also say this. Um, don't get lazy and just share other people's content.
Right.
Because then you're losing because it's easy to do, which leads
Mhm.
me to the next question. And remember what I just said about not getting lazy. So how often should we be posting to Instagram? I'm sorry, not to Instagram, to Pinterest, and what numbers? Like, do you suggest we
Yeah.
post daily, and how many? I mean, what's your kind of
Mm.
magic formula?
I am still working on my new Magic 2020 formula for pins because it is just kind of we're like in a little transition right now. But I think I never was one of those people that was like pinning 100 things a day. Like there were some
Yeah.
people that just had so much content scheduled out, and it's just too much. I think it's more important to think about what you can share that's always going to be really relevant for your Pinterest audience. And, maybe if you can do 10 to 20 really great pins, then you're doing great. If you can only do, say, you can only do 5 pins a day to schedule, and you're going to create two of those are going to be yours and three are going to be other people's. Like come up with what you could really do so you're not being lazy, like Kim said, and just scheduling things to schedule it. That's not going to help. So think about like, I'm going to make X amount of pins. I've been trying to spend, like a chunk of time, in a week, just making some new pins for myself. And then I'll spread those out and I'll pin some other things. I'm not focusing as much on a big number anymore. I mean, I have seen like 10 to 30 pins, but even when you think about it, 30 pins is a lot. That's a lot of content that you want to make sure is really good. So even if I think it's more on just creating like really good content. So if it's a lower number, don't freak out about it. But I think it's just staying consistent. And I think actively pinning, they do always want to see you act like, I mean, it sounds kind of stupid, but like natural pinning behavior is what Pinterest really likes to see. So sometimes you're just on your phone pinning things. Most people, like 80 to 85% of people are on mobile when they're pinning. So, are you during the day once, just taking some time to scroll through and look at things and add to your favorite boards and just pinning things? That's like natural pinning behavior. And then maybe scheduling some other things too that are going to be like your main.
Yeah.
I've always tried to schedule my main things. If I have a new blog article, I always go pin those directly immediately in the different versions. and then maybe schedule things for later, but then schedule out. So I wouldn't concern myself with a big number anymore. I really think it's a smaller, more focused number for 2020. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think about how much you can create if you're working on if you're the person who's going to make the new Pinterest business account moving forward, think about, maybe 10. And if it seems way too much and you can't do that, then move your number down and create new content that fits. So think about just being smart, but don't be overwhelmed by it. But I think being consistent
Yeah.
is always important. You don't want to just ignore things for weeks, because then your account kind
Yes.
of, doesn't do
Yes.
as well.
I
I wish I
totally
had like
agree.
an
And I would
exact
just
number, but I don't.
yeah. I would just tag on. We're trying to do 5, a day.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
MJ asked a great question, and I really want to key in on this because a lot of times people don't understand that yes, you can use a scheduler. I think you use Tailwind. That's what we're using.
I
Was that
do.
is
I
that
do
okay?
use Tailwind. You can schedule in Pinterest now. They added their own scheduling. So if you had
Yes.
like just two of your own pins, you could schedule those and do a couple in Tailwind. I think 5 to 10 is probably fine now, like in
Yes.
2020.
I,
Before it was crazy numbers, but I think really being focused is where it's at for moving forward for right now. So I think a small
yes.
number is better. Even 5 to 10, I think is really good if it's relevant and really good. If they're your own new fresh pins, 5 is like amazing.
Yeah, I think that, well, when I say 5 of our own pins, and then I think we're,
Mhm.
sharing some other things as well. But,
Right.
um, you know, at the end of the day, and I will give you this, kind of from a standpoint of sharing content, it's always about consistency, and don't even start if you don't have a plan to sustain it, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. So
Mhm.
Pinterest is such a great traffic driver, but you have to be committed to it and use a tool to make it easy. Go
Mhm.
grab Tailwind. It's a great little resource that will allow you to schedule your content. Um, and the best part about Pinterest is that it doesn't take a lot of time to
Mhm.
manage because, like Peg said, it's not really a social network. It's a social search engine, essentially, where you
Mhm.
can find a lot of content, but consistency does matter. So if you're
Mhm.
not committed to it and you don't have the resources, then you got to be committed to anything I think that you do in the social space. So I just have a
Right.
couple of other, we're going to go through these real quick, Peg.
Mhm.
One, because I know a lot of people are curious about hashtags. Hashtags on Pinterest. What does that look like in your opinion? Do you use them and how many?
Yeah, for years it was no, 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 because they said not to use them. But then a couple of years ago, they were like, yes, use hashtags. So I worked that into my initial strategy. If I was going for a brand new account, I would say, okay, I'm going to have 3 to 5 good hashtags and stick with it. You do not need a whole bunch. I find staying really targeted with stuff is so much smarter than trying to do a whole bunch of different things. So get really smart. If you're doing Kim's amazing video class, you're going to do like hashtag video course, hashtag online courses, and then just look on Pinterest and see what hashtags people are using. Sometimes I look on Instagram to see what's over there and I'll move it over because a lot of people do the same. People don't integrate their strategies as much as they should. If you have a really smart Instagram strategy, move some of that over to Pinterest, and like Google will love all of it together. So stop thinking of everything so separate. But I would say 3 to 5 really great hashtags for Pinterest. And then I put them in my tasty pins on my blog post. So I kind of work it all together and then I don't have to think about it as much. But think about it by board and by pin. So each board you might have 3 to 5, and then you might be using the same exact ones on the pin. Because if there's anything about hashtag strategies, like, you know, using the same ones over and over is going to pay off wherever you're using it. So if visual marketing is your jam and that's going to be your thing, use it on Instagram, use it on Twitter, use it on LinkedIn, and use it on Pinterest, and keep all of your stuff super tight as far as your keywords. All your content doesn't have to be the same, but your main like keywords, the reason that I keep using keywords and hashtags. Like I said, I'm not an SEO expert, but when you're going from a business standpoint, you want to think about like, why do they need you? they need you for a video marketing class. Like you have to think about how you want people to find you on Google or Pinterest. And thinking about it all as one big thing is so smart. So do you ever use more than three, Kim? I mean, three is like always my magic number for stuff as far as like, but then I might have 5 hashtags, but if I only had 3 really good ones, I think that's smarter than a lot. They never want you to
I think
use
so
too
too.
many. Yeah.
I think 2 to 3 is kind of my magic sauce, but,
Yeah.
on Pinterest anyway. With
Mhm.
Instagram, of course, you can use more, but I would say
Yeah.
3 to 5, is max on Pinterest,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
always kinda lean more towards, less than more on Pinterest
Yeah.
for whatever the
Yeah.
reason. One, because I don't use hashtags as much, it's probably my own thing. On
Mhm.
Instagram, I use hashtags to search for content all the time, but I don't do
Yeah.
it quite as often on Pinterest, which makes me think, well, maybe others don't. But I
Mhm.
don't. That doesn't mean that others don't, and you shouldn't use some, specifically the
Right.
ones that you're most interested in making sure people find you under. So I would
Mhm.
really key in on those top 3 to 5, and like Peg said, those are probably the 3 to 5 you're also going to want to use on Instagram. If you're not using them already, you're probably going to want to integrate them there.
Yeah.
I would even suggest that you even use them on Facebook. Not Don't go crazy on Facebook, but people do
Mhm.
search for content on Facebook too. So, it's kind of some of those. There's some overlap with some of these strategies that you can use in other places.
Yeah,
So,
definitely if
I
you're
want
coming up with 2, 3 super smart ones, you could use them everywhere, and then just do more on
to, yeah,
Instagram. Everywhere else, just do your 2 to 3, and I never search on Facebook, but it for hashtags, but it doesn't matter because it's still the algorithm searching like they know. They know even if people
yeah,
aren't doing it, and the same with Pinterest, maybe you don't think to go look for the hashtag, but if you're gonna use the hashtag, just go search it to see what else is there for that content to make sure that yours is better. Like that you're bringing your A game for to get up
yes.
there.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that not only is the algorithm working, but they're listening somehow to us, you know? I
Mhm,
mean, it's like they
mhm.
magically serve up what we've just been talking about. I don't know how Facebook
They
does
do.
it, but, it's a little eerie sometimes. Okay, I
Mhm.
wanted to wrap up with video pins.
Mm.
Talk to me a little bit about video pins. Now, I know that in the past you could only share YouTube stuff. Now you can you can use the uploader and share the content directly. Should
Right.
video pins be oblong? Should they be square? What does video pins look like on Pinterest, and how would they impact a business owner?
So basically video always catches our attention. And it has motion. And what I like about when Pinterest, when you're scrolling, things move a little bit, but it doesn't like play the whole thing. So it sort of like auto plays a little bit. I create long, tall, just regular, video size. I think I've even used the Instagram story size, to be honest, and created video that and shared it over. I've made some GIFs, which actually did pretty well. I haven't made any longer content, but basically, if you're going to create something, you want it to be like to kind of show what it's always like explaining what you're doing or showing what you're doing. The ones that always catch my eye are the tasty pins, any recipes where they're making it and they're like, do the top down thing. Like, if there's any way you can do that kind of content, I feel like that's always like, it's how to. So maybe you could just do a short video if it's for your, say your video class, because I like to just stick with the same example throughout. You could do a quick like thing of like you on camera, or it would be like a photo of you on camera, or like a gif of you like talking. So it's like it catches people eye. It's just that's basically what you're doing is trying to like interest somebody and inspire them to click through. So it's always about thinking what's going to be interesting for people, and a little bit of emotion, like fish in the pond, it catches our attention as well. Like we're essentially goldfish in the social media world, right? We're like, what's next? Where are we? And that's how sometimes
We're
just a
swimming
little
around
video.
trying to get somebody to thumb stop on us, right?
Yep. Yeah. So just think about an easy way. Like if you're making something for Instagram already, like something in an Instagram story, share it on Pinterest and see how it does. Like if you're already creating it, just try it. I did some that were like audiograms and they did okay. Like it was for a podcast. So just even if you don't see someone else doing it, if you have an idea, just try it. Like try a
I
different way
love
that
it.
you can do video, right?
I love it. Basically, I think video across the board, or animation, anything that's got movement is gives us a leg up, because we are trying to, like you said before, most people are consuming content on mobile devices. So I call it thumb
Mhm.
stopping content. Because
Mhm.
as you're scrolling through, usually it's the thumb that stops the
Mhm.
scroll, right? So when we can create those moments, whether it's video or GIFs or in animation of any kind, it usually works.
Yeah,
So
it does.
I want to wrap up with any questions we have real quick, because I know Peg has probably got a lot of things going. So it says anything with movement gives us a leg up. Yes, I totally think that is so true, MJ. Do we have any questions that didn't get answered? And I definitely want us to make the announcement before we bump out of here, around the winners, because we're giving away 2 copies of Peg's book. We're giving away um, the ring light, and we're giving away 3 months of promo. Guys, if you have not used promo before, you definitely need to check it out. It is a great little resource. They have some amazing templates. Video doesn't have to be hard anymore. It used to be hard. It's not hard
Mhm.
anymore. So definitely check out promo, grabpromonow.com. And if you are the winner, we will make sure that you get the free month. And if you're not, check it out anyway, because you will not be sorry you did. All right. Do we have any last minute questions? And we definitely want to pull those winners in. And Peg, I want to say, while we're waiting on all that, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us today. You're just, I could have talked to you for 10 more hours, but I'm looking forward to seeing you in the social media marketing world.
Yeah,
I'm,
me
I'm really
too, definitely. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'll check through the questions on the Facebook post after too, just in case there was something that
Oh
somebody
yeah.
asks
So
later.
it looks like Monica won the ring light. All right. Congrats,
Woo!
Monica. And Jeff is saying promo makes great video pins. Yes, great point. And then we have the book winners are Rhonda and Chuck. Yay, Chuck. So Chuck, are you coming to social media marketing world this year? And if you are, bring the book and we'll see if Peg won't sign it, right?
I definitely will. It's small too. It's easy to bring.
Yes, but it is it's small, but it is literally chock full of golden nuggets, guys.
Thank you.
If you're not one of the winners, definitely go check it out. And the promo winners are Ashley, Allison, Cynthia. Is Cynthia? I think Cynthia has got many names. So Cynthia, Allison, and Ashley are the winners. So we'll definitely be in touch with you guys to make sure that you have access to the promo full month of service. You're gonna love it. Woohoo, Chuck! Welcome. I'm so excited that you won. Excellent. All right. So again, you guys give a big shout out to Peg for being here with us today. Thank her, and super excited that she was here and shared all of her knowledge with us. And we'll see you guys Thursday. And then again, don't forget, every Monday, 10 a.m. and right here, same place, same time. We're going to have some amazing guests. We have some amazing guests lined up for you. And we'll see you next Monday, 10 a.m. Thanks. Thanks, Peg.
Thanks for
You
having
need
me.
great marketing videos to grow your business. With Promo, you can create commercial level videos in minutes. Hop over to any number of our ready-made collections. Customize your text, font, size, and color to fit your unique style. Just upload your logo and show off your brand. Even find the perfect music and use it forever with a lifetime license. Then download your video, fit for any device. Join hundreds of thousands of businesses winning with promo videos. Start creating your videos today.